Hey everybody, it's Michelle Sizemore here. I'm a Creative Memories advisor, and today you'll learn how to make 4 different quick and easy borders using the Scalloped Crochet Border Punch and the Creative Memories 12-inch trimmer. I'm going to set these aside and grab the first one. I have these 4 different ones separated in a Power Project sleeve, so everything I need to make this particular one is in here. And I've already pre-cut this scalloped crochet border, but I'm going to demonstrate how I did that one time because it's the same cut for all the borders. And then let's go ahead and do that. And this is the border that we're going to make. Okay, so this is the border punch. You put your cardstock in here and you start at this black line right here. Make sure you hold it down straight right here so it's firm against that little raised area and punch. Scoop your scraps out of the way, bring it down, and you want to take this and place it over the blue parts to match up the pattern you just cut. And when you don't see any more blue, it's in the right position because all you see is silver. And hold it, make sure you hold it straight so it doesn't slip on you. So I'm going to put my thumb down firmly there and punch again. Scoop my scraps out of the way. And every now and then, after a few punches, I try to like kind of punch it and knock it to make sure there's nothing stuck up in there. And then I'm going to just continue to follow that process. I'll explain it one more time. Put your pattern over the blue. You want to completely cover the blue so all you see is silver, and then it's in the right spot. It's going to line up here with this little raised area. You need to keep it very straight right there. Make sure it doesn't slip. And hold it down firmly and punch. And then I'm just going to keep doing that without explaining it because it's the same process until I finish the piece of paper. Okay, so now I have my 12-inch border. I'm going to get all these scraps out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to set this aside because we're done with this. And I'm going to grab my multi-purpose tool. I'm going to look at this and just make sure I don't have any little stray pieces in here. Sometimes they don't completely punch out. If I did, I would just kind of poke it through, and I don't. It's all good. But I do need to clean up this edge right here with my scissors. I'm going to grab the micro scissors. They're really small and very sharp. And they really are perfect for things like this. I'm going to get rid of that little... Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so that is the Scalloped Crochet Border Punch. And it is a current punch that just came out about a month ago. And right now we're at June 1st, so 2025. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is mount this on top of this red. Now, I'm going to draw a pencil line right here. And then when I go to cut this, I'll tell you how it measures on the trimmer, but that's just telling me where to cut. And here, I'm going to draw a pencil line to show how wide I cut that, because I needed some white to stay on the bottom there. Okay, first, let's cut this. I'm going to, okay, on this trimmer, your blade always comes down on this left-hand side dotted line. If you can see on this mat, you have 2 rows of dotted lines, left and right. Your blade always comes down on this left-hand side dotted line, so that's where you're always looking for your blade to go down and cut your paper. And then when these lines start to fade, this one is good. It's pretty new. But when it starts to fade or get indented and fade, it's time to flip your mat. And that would mean you would just pick it up and flip it so you have a clean left-hand side dotted line. and you have 2 more lines on the back. So if you can see, like I've kind of worn that one out, so I've already flipped it. So you get 4 flips out of it. I mean, you get lots and lots of uses out of each line, but once one fades, you flip it and then you turn it over and flip it and flip it. And so you get a lot of uses out of it. But just know that, because a lot of people don't realize that when I see them at events and things. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. Since I drew my pencil line, that's where I want it to cut. I want it to match up with that left-hand side dotted line, and then I want this to be straight at the top so I don't cut it crooked. And it is, see this 2-inch grid line right here? It is just a little bit past the 2-inch. In fact, I could cut it. Let's just cut it at the 2-inch. No, let's don't. So I'm sorry, I don't want to mess up my border. So it just, these top edges just barely go past the 2-inch mark. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but this is just how I chose to do it when I made the border. Okay, and make sure your straight blade is in here, and it is. Okay, so I've got that cut made. Now I'm going to mount my white scallop here. And I did cut that slightly longer. You know, I am going to clean that up just a little, because that might not look quite right with my, I'm gonna cut just a little bit more off. Sorry, I probably should have measured that before, but oh well. I'm just gonna cut a little bit off. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna line this up about where I did on this one, on this red. Now I'm gonna take my silicone mat and flip this over. There's a pencil under here. And put my repositionable tape runner. It comes out in little clear dots, and that is the only thing I like to use on things like this that have all these little intricate holes and cutouts. Because if I use the other tape runners, they come out white, and sometimes they leave things poking through the holes and it looks all messy. And if you use a glue pen, it can get all messy. So I just love the repositionable tape runner. And it's my favorite. Okay, so I'm going to mount this down. And you just want some of that red to peek out past your scallop. I think I got a little crooked there. Another good thing about the repositionable is you can pick it up and move it around if you mess up a little bit. Okay, so that part's done. I will need to trim just a tad off the ends, but I'll do that when I'm done. And now I need to cut this green paper to a skinny strip. It's almost a 1/2 inch. Okay. I'm going to put my pencil line there on that left-hand side dotted line. Make sure it's straight all the way down and cut. So I've got my little green strip that'll go here. And then I need a very skinny little multi-stripe, and this is a directional pattern, so, and I want to get all the colors in there, so I want to make sure I cut this way so I have all the colors. And I'm just going to use the edge of this gray mat as my sight line. And you know what, that side's crooked from a previous use, so I'm going to use this side, it's straight. So I'm going to line it up with that gray mat, and I'm going to see how that looks. And I think it's perfect. So it just gave me a little skinny cut. And I'll mount that on top of here. So let's do that. I'm going to put my repositionable tape runner all the way, put dabs of it all the way down this. And then stick it on here and center it up just by looking at it. And then I'm going to put my repositionable tape runner on the back here and just some dabs all the way down. And then I'm going to mount that here. And I do want some white showing through the bottom to kind of give it a finished edge look. I like that. Okay. And then there's some red that pokes out just a little bit. I'm just going to look at that. And I just did this, you know, myself to see how I liked it. So I liked it about that wide. You can make it wider if you want. So now you can, my pencil line's down here. It'll work down here or up here as long as it's on the left-hand side dotted line. You can always go that way or this way with your trimmer. So it just works better for me to line it up here on that left-hand side dotted line. And it's about 2 2 1/4. It's almost 2.5 inches, but not quite. Now, this little clear thing is great. It has a little sight line in there. It's a little black line. You can, it tucks away up there, but you can pull it down and just kind of look and make sure it's going to cut like you want. It's especially handy if you're trying to avoid cutting through a pattern like a flower or something, but I just wanted to make sure it looked, that's about what I want. So I'm going to cut that. And now I have my border that I really like. So that's border number 1. I would take my scissors just over on this little edge because all the pieces don't completely match up perfect. And I'm just going to trim that just a tiny bit to make sure everything's even on the end. It's such a tiny amount. And then I would erase that pencil line. Okay, so that is border number 1. I'm going to set that aside. And we'll do border number 2. This should go faster because I've already cut the scallop. Okay, so here's my scallop. And then I need a skinny piece of this red. Draw my pencil line. And if you're doing this stuff at home, it's just the kind of thing you just play around with to get it the size you like it. Some people might want a wider stripe than that or strip, and some may not. So it's up to you. Okay, so let's get this red one first. So I'm going to line this up on that left-hand side dotted line and make sure I'm straight all the way across and straight all the way down. And this is lining up with, let me look at this and make sure. It's almost a 1/2 inch, almost. At least that's how I chose to do it. Now we've got this, and now we're going to do our really skinny line of stripes. I'm going to put that line on that left-hand side. Oops, again. You know what? I need to measure that again. I'm going to get a straight edge on here because that is not a straight edge. See? That's really not straight. So now it is. Now I'm going to draw my pencil line again and cut it with a straight edge. So not this one. It's just a really skinny, skinny line. Okay. So I'm going to put, so I'm putting this pencil mark on that dotted line on the left because that's where the blade comes down. And what it does, I'm going to use this edge of this gray mat as my sight line. So that's where I'm lining my paper up to. And then I'm going to cut, and it's going to be just right. Okay? So now I'm going to put this striped paper on top of my red. If you had a good border sticker, you could do that with a border sticker instead. But I looked at the border stickers that came with this collection, and there really wasn't one that had the look that I wanted for this, so I just created it with paper. You can do so many things with your paper, and you sometimes don't need that many stickers and things. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to mount that down. Put my repositionable tape runner down there in depths. Don't go all the way down or you'll really waste it and be buying it again soon, and that's not necessary. Okay, so I'm going to mount this on here. You know, I'm going to, before I do, I'm going to clean this up just a little bit because that end did not finish off the way that I want it to. I'm just cutting the tiniest little sliver off. Let's look at this one. Yeah, everything else looks good on here. So I'm going to line this up here. About right there. I want a little bit of some solid to show at the bottom. There we go. About like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, see this right here where that little stray piece is? That's what I'm talking about, where I need my multi-purpose tool. It's very handy. It's a pointy edge, and you can just poke through there and then tear it off. It just helps you get things poked through. Okay, now I'm going to press this down just to make sure it sticks. It looks like I need a little more tape runner right there. Yeah, press it down really well. Just rub it. And I'm going to clean that up just a little bit right there. Okay, now I want just a little bit of this green to show out past my red. So I'm going to line this up. And I am lining this up to where the tip tops of these scallops go just right up to the 2-inch line. And I'm a little bit of that red, it must be a little bit crooked. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. That's another good thing about this repositionable tape runner. You can pick things up and move it. I can tell I put it on a little bit crooked because it was showing past my open area on my trimmer. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to line this up so that this edge, it is right up against the red so that no red shows in this open area. It's lined up right on top of it. And then I'm going to cut, and I think it's going to be perfect. And it is. That's exactly what I wanted. Yeah. So then I'm going to just mount this on yellow. Now before I stick it, let me just draw a pencil line where I cut. Because I do want a little bit of that yellow to poke past it. Okay. And we're going to cut. Okay, is this side straight? No, it's not. So I'm going to use, you know what? I need a good straight line before I do this. I should have thought of that. But, you know, I think so that's my good straight line. Now, I'm going to measure again with my pencil. Don't want it there. I want it there. And let's just look and make sure this is going to look good. Yeah. Okay. So So I'm going to do this from the bottom based on where my pencil line is. And you can see that it is just shy of 2.5 inches, just a tad smaller. Okay. And then I should be able to mount this on here. And it's going to look exactly like I want. So let's add that repositionable tape runner. I'm pretty generous with it on these areas that have all these openings because I want to make sure it sticks really well, especially on the edges. Now I'm just going to put a few little dabs on this solid part. Okay. And the reason I like doing this on this sticky mat, on this silicone mat, is that it repels the repositionable tape runner so that it just stays inside here. It rolls back up in there so it helps you not to have a lot of messes. So that looks just like I wanted it to. And I'm going to cut these edges off just a little bit to even everything up. It's so slight you can barely tell. Okay, so now we have border number 2. Now, we're halfway done. This one will go quicker because there are less cuts. I've already trimmed my scallop edge. And this just, I don't cut any more like those skinny strips of paper. These are pre-done laser borders. So these come with the collection, Relax into Summer. So I'm going to first mount this one on top of that one. These are two-sided, so you can pick the colors that you like. Just put a few dabs of that all the way down, and then put this in the middle. That's a fun layered look. Okay, and that's going to go here. And then I've got my yellow that I've already cut, like I've showed you. I'm going to trim this. I want it to be not hanging out past that blue. So I'm going to trim it about like that. Make sure it's straight. And this lines almost up with the 2-inch mark, except the little top pieces come out slightly past the 2-inch mark. Again, you can do this however you like. That's just what I chose to do. Okay. Now I'm going to mount this onto the red, and then I'll cut the red the size I want it when I'm done. I'm going to mount it about like that. On the solid part, I'll just put a few dabs, but then I'll be more generous around the edges. And when you have a delicate pattern like that, I think it helps just to hold it down and kind of pull this toward you. And just be gentle with it so the little delicate pieces that are cut out, the little intricate pieces, don't bend on you. So I can decide how much of this red I want to show at the top. I like about that much. Yeah, I need to trim this edge just a little bit. The pattern didn't finish off exactly like I want. Okay, now I'm going to remount it down. Yeah, that's good. Now again, there's another little stray piece. I think I can just pull that off with my finger. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to mount this on top, but not yet. I'm going to cut about a 1/2 inch piece of this blue. I'm going to line it up with the 1/2 inch mark right there. Make sure it's straight all the way down. I'm going to cut actually more like 3/4 of an inch. So first I'm going to put some tape runner on the back here and then mount this on top of the blue and just let a little bit of that blue peek out past my laser cut border. And then I'm going to mount this on here. Look, there's another little stray piece. I keep finding them now. I think they popped out when I glued that down. Okay, so I'm going to mount that right there. But before I do, I'm going to cut this red because I don't want it to show past the blue. I'm just going to draw a line and cut that. Go ahead and cut that. So I don't have to do it afterwards. I did not pre-cut that red paper. It was just a scrap piece. Okay, I'm going to put some repositionable tape runner here and mount this. I mounted it kind of like I like it about right there. It's a little wider than my original, but that's fine. So there we go, and I'm just going to rub all that to make it stick. And I'm going to trim off this edge right here to make everything even. And I do see a little bit of red poking out, so I'm just going to give that a little trim where I see that from underneath, and then you won't see it anymore. It's underneath, so it doesn't matter if I cut it perfect. Okay, now rub everything down. So now I have border number 3. I like it. And we're going to do one more. All my paper's out of the way. Okay. I've already cut my red scallop. Now let's look this over and see if there are any pieces that I need to deal with. Sometimes if you see that a piece is a little bit rough looking, you can kind of rub your fingernail over it and it underneath, and it kind of takes care of that. This looks good, except this little edge right here. Yeah, I'm happy with that now. Okie doke, so I'm going to cut that about right there where that pencil line is. And that's at about 1 3/4 inches where the top scallop is, if you're making that at home. Okay, and then I'm going to cut a skinny strip of this, lining up to the edge of that mat. That's my sight line, because I want it really skinny. That's good. And then this, I want it to be slightly bigger, so I'm going to come out. That is, if I place it there, it's going to be the size of the skinny strip, but I want it to mount on top of here. So I'm going to move this out here to this little line right there. I love all the lines on here. I think that's going to be perfect. Yeah, it is. Okay. And again, if you had a sticker that you liked, a border sticker, you could use that instead of cutting paper. But I didn't have one with this collection that I like. I mean, I liked them, but I didn't like them with these borders in particular. I got something stuck under here. I'm going to put a good bit on here since it's such a skinny strip. I don't want it to tear or budge on me. And then I'm going to mount this on top here. I love this collection. It's so pretty and fun and bright and cheerful. Okay. Make sure it sticks everywhere. I see a little area where I should have put some more tape runner. I'm going to put some right here so it won't bubble up on me. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to mount this on top of the yellow. Again, I'm going to be pretty generous on the edges with all these little intricate cutouts, but be very delicate with it. There's just not that much area for the tape runner to grab onto, so that's why I'm generous there. But here, I'm just going to put a few little dabs, maybe 5 or 6 all the way down. And I'm going to decide how much of this I want to show. Doesn't have to be exact, you just get it like you like it, but that's how I chose to do it. And then I'm going to mount this here. Oops, I'm out of tape runner. Get another one. I'm going to mount this here so that just some of that red shows out past the green on the bottom. And then I'm going to cut this so that a little bit of the yellow shows. I'm going to draw a line, grab my trimmer, make sure that line matches up with the left-hand side dotted line and that it's straight all the way down. And this is at 2 1/4 inches. That looks good. Okay, so that is the border that I wanted. All right, so that's 4 borders just using paper. So pull these out again so you can see them all. These are the originals. Okay, 4 borders just using paper, scallop crochet border punch, and the 12-inch trimmer. Really easy, and I love the look. I think they're so pretty. They make me think of my recent trips to Puerto Vallarta and Cancun. The colors and stuff, this paper really does, and the look of these scallops, it reminds me of those flags that hang down that they put over the courtyards and things in Mexico. They're so pretty. And usually they're like these colors, so it's just so much fun. All right, thanks for watching my video. I hope y'all have fun playing around with Creative Memories products, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.